Let's make a natural oat milk soap that's amazing for sensitive skin, itchy, irritated skin, and made with soothing, lovely, natural ingredients. Welcome back. I hope you're doing amazing. I'm going to be showing you how you can make this natural oat milk soap. It's super gentle for your skin, made with nourishing plant fats, oils, plant butters like shea butter, cocoa butter. Feel amazing on your skin. So I'm going to be showing you my process step by step for making this soap bar. And if this is the first time you're stopping by, my name is Esther. I make DIY hair and skincare videos. I'm also a small business owner. I sell my handmade body care products online, and I also have formulating classes and ebooks. Everything I mentioned is going to be linked in the description box. I'm getting started making my oat milk, and to do this I'm going to be using some rolled oats. You can also purchase oat milk from your local store. So I'm just going to add about 3 cups of oats to my blender, and I'm going to fill this up with some distilled water. I will also link a blog post about how you can make your oat milk yourself. There are so many ways, but this is a general way to make your own oat milk. So once I've added my distilled water, I'm going to blend this. For my distilled water, I did not measure that. I just filled my blender almost to the top. So you just want to blend this thoroughly. And once I've blended this, I'm going to strain out my oat milk. And the way I do this, I use a fine mesh strainer, and I also use a cheesecloth just to ensure that I'm only getting the oat milk. I don't want any oat residue in the finished product. So once I've extracted my oat milk, I'm going to transfer to another container. I usually do a lot of my soap making prep a day before I actually make my soap. So I'm going to transfer this. I'm going to weigh out the amount that I need for my soap. For this oat milk soap, I'm doing a partial water replacement. So I'm not replacing the water content entirely with the milk. So I'm just doing a partial water replacement using the oat milk. And if you're new to cold process soap making, because that's the soap bar I'm doing, I will link helpful soap making resources if you're a beginner just starting to make soap. But that's what I'm doing here. So I'm weighing out the amount that I need for the soap recipe, and I'll also link how you can access the soap recipe as well as my other soap recipes. Everything is going to be in the description box, so be sure to check that out so you can access all the information. So I'm going to set out my oat milk to the side. I placed it in the fridge, and I'm going to get started weighing out my plant fats, my butters that I'm going to be using in the soap. I'm weighing out some cocoa butter wafers. Cocoa butter is packed with natural fats. It's a very moisturizing plant butter, and it also helps to add hardness to this soap bar. I'm also going to be using some shea butter as well, and I'm also using some coconut oil. So typically what I do is I start melting my cocoa butter first because it takes longer to melt. Unlike shea butter and coconut oil, these do not take long to melt down. So I always start off melting my hardest plant butter first. So for this soap, I'm using cocoa butter, shea butter, and coconut oil. You can always substitute your plant butters even the oils used, but you have to run it through soap calculator, and it will be linked in the description box. Next, I'm weighing out some olive oil. You can use other oils like rice bran oil, avocado oil, apricot oil. Those are good options. And I'm also going to be using some sunflower oil and castor oil. The beauty about making your own cold processed soap is that you can customize your oils, your plant butters to suit whatever skin type you're wanting to formulate for. If it's sensitive skin, irritated skin, the possibilities are endless. So I'm going to add in my melted cocoa butter, and I'm going to add in my melted shea butter and coconut oil. Since I do my soap prep the day before or 24 hours before, I'm just going to allow this to cool down slightly, and then I'm going to cover this up in preparation for the next day. Next, I'm going to make my lye or sodium hydroxide solution. Please ensure that you check out the description box if you're new to cold process soap making, so you can handle the ingredients correctly and safely. So I'm just weighing out some distilled water. I always like to use distilled water when making my soaps. And then in a separate container, I'm going to weigh out the sodium hydroxide or lye. And after this, I'm going to start adding this to my distilled water. You always want to add the sodium hydroxide to the water and not the other way around. Please, this is extremely important. So I'm going to add this in, and you want to ensure that you protect your eyes. You wear goggles, long sleeves, gloves, just to avoid anything getting into your eye. Lye or sodium hydroxide is very corrosive. It can actually burn your skin. So I'm just giving this a good mix to ensure that the sodium hydroxide powder dissolves. So I'm stirring this. I did speed this up, so I'm not going this fast. So just gently mix this. The mixture gets very, very hot. When I checked it, it was about 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So like I said, I usually prep all my ingredients the day before I make my soap. I tend to make my soap at room temperature in the 70s degree Fahrenheit range. So once my mixture has cooled down, I'm just going to cover this up and set this aside in a secure and safe area where no one can knock this down. Before I add in the rest of my ingredients, I do a quick temperature check, and I'm going to add in my colloidal oats. You can also use oat flour or just finely ground oatmeal in this soap recipe. But colloidal oats is very soothing for irritated skin. It's helpful for dry, sensitive, eczema-prone skin. I'm also adding in some kaolin clay, some white kaolin clay. This just helps to improve the overall feel of the soap, the slip and glide of the soap. So I also love adding this when I'm using essential oils to help anchor the scent. So I'm just going to use my stick blender, and I'm just going to get all this properly combined. I'm adding in the oat milk that I made to the oils, and this is the milk in oil method for soap making, and I'm just going to get this properly combined as well. Oat milk is such an amazing ingredient if you're dealing with dry skin, irritated skin, or you have sensitive skin. This is a great soap recipe to try out and make for yourself. And after I've gotten this mixed, I'm giving my sodium hydroxide mixture just a quick stir, and I usually add some sodium lactate to my sodium hydroxide solution. So that's what I'm adding to my oil mixture, and I'm going to stick blend this until my soap has come to trace. So once my soap mixture has come to trace and to the consistency that I like, I'm going to grab my soap molds and I'm going to start pouring. This is a larger batch, so you can make yours just using one soap mold or depending on how much you want to make. But I like these soap molds and I will link them in the description box. So I just keep pouring into the molds and I tap occasionally just to loosen up any air bubbles that may have formed in the soap. I like to take the time to really tap my soap molds down just to help with the air bubbles, so that way you don't see air pockets when you finish making your soap. So after that, I'm just going to texture the top. This is optional. You can do whatever design you like for your own soap. And then I just add in some dried oats on the top of the soap. And then since this is a cold processed soap bar, it usually has a curing time. But usually I'll leave my soaps, I'll cover my soaps and then I'll leave it for about 48 hours. And then I will come back and unmold the soap before I cut them into the individual bars. And this is what the oat milk soap is looking like. As always, feel free to make substitutions to the oils, the plant butters to make it work for your own specific soap, but just make sure you run whatever changes you make through soap calculator, also called soap calc. I'm going to show you a close-up of this oat milk soap as well, so you can see how I did the texture on the surface. But this is such a gentle, soothing soap bar. It also produces a very lovely lather that doesn't feel harsh on the skin or stripping on the skin. So it is a very lovely soap if you have sensitive skin or eczema-prone skin. But this is what it's looking like. As a cold processed soap, it is going to need a curing time. So once I've cut the soap logs into the individual bars, I usually put them on trays and I'll put that in a rack, and that's how I typically will cure my soaps. Cold processed soaps require a curing time to allow the excess water evaporate out of the soap. And with this soap, when I cut it, the middle had a light greenish tint. I did some research and there was varying information. Some said it had to do with pH or it not being properly dried out. But after 48 hours, that light green tint was completely gone. And after the curing process of 4 to 6 weeks, the soap bars were hard, firm, and with no discoloration. And that is pretty much my process for making this oat milk soap. I did get several requests to make or show my process for doing this soap. So here it is, and I also have my soap making ebook. It's linked in the description box. It has 10 super detailed soap making recipes. It is a complete guide to making your own unique cold processed soaps. The formula recipe for this specific soap will be linked in the description box. If you want to purchase the recipe, it's going to be there as well. And I will also link my 2 free standard soap making recipes that you can customize and make this oat milk soap as well. So there are several options. You just have to choose which option works best for you. But I hope you enjoyed my process. Let me know if you have any questions about this soap or how I made it. Let me know in the comments below, but please be sure to like this video, leave me a heart emoji. If you found this video helpful, leave me a comment. Also share this video, and please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any new videos I upload. But thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.